Wednesday, June 24th. Well, the events of the last few days have brought to mind for me a conversation that I had with my mother 35 years ago. I had just gotten back from a trip to El Salvador, and I saw what was going on there, and it was become very clearly aware in my mind that what our government was telling us was going on and was telling us that our government was doing in El Salvador was not factually true. And I was sharing this with my mother, and she was like skeptical, but not in the sense that she didn't believe what I was saying. It was just like it was hard for her to hear what I was saying because it violated her sense of the way things ought to be, or wanted her the way she wanted them to be. And it was more that she was like puzzled that I was telling her things that I knew she would find upsetting. And I wasn't asking her to do anything. It wasn't like this was I needed her help with something. She was generally pretty interested in knowing what was going on with me. But this information didn't seem to make sense to her because she knew, I knew, that it would upset her. And it had me thinking about how we are dealing with the realities that are arising for us in the world today with the virus and with police brutality and with so many different things, climate catastrophe. There's so many things that we have an awareness of or can be aware of, that if we're aware of them, they become distressing for us. And so it has me thinking that one of the privileges that we may claim to ourselves is I have the privilege to not know things that are going to be upsetting for me. I don't want to know about that. That will require that I might have to do something about that. I just don't want to know. I've had this conversation around folks politically. I mean, it's like, and I'd be curious about, well, how did they come to believe what they believe? And it's like, well, that's because that's what I want to believe. Well, but there's these facts. No, I don't care about that. One of the things that I heard this morning was, read this morning, was an article about the ways that our president manages to maintain this sort of information bubble. The only thing that gets into his awareness are the things that he wants to be aware of because they confirm the worldview that he wants to have. We as humans have the power to resolve the catastrophes, the crises that are happening in the world today, because without exception, to my understanding, all of these crises are human-made. They are the consequence of human choices, so human choices can fix them. But we cannot fix them unless we are aware of what is actually true, unless we're making decisions based upon the available evidence, and all of the evidence, not just the evidence that's going to prove my point, but we can really take into account all of what is relevant to the problem. We're seeing this particularly with the virus now. I don't want to know about I don't want to wear a mask. I don't want to know all these kind of things that people are saying because they don't really want to know about what's happening. This is a kind of a willful ignorance that we are claiming as a privilege. And I get that because there are times when the information that I'm taking in about what's actually happening in the world around me are really very distressing to me. And there's a part of me that says, I have to take care of myself. I'm going to go on a news fast. I'm not going to listen to all of this. And I do see a certain amount of wisdom to that. We must take care of ourselves. But we also need to know what's actually going on, because we can't deal with what's happening in our lives, large or small. We cannot deal with it without knowing what is actually true. And choosing not to know is claiming a privilege that is harmful to the whole system. So let's agree to be conscious.